how to make sure that is this neobank or this particular bank is Sharia compliant
That's a very good question.
from a labor perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. And look, from the a layperson perspective, your own responsibility is, if there's a scholar, and that's why it's really important, it's almost, I'd say, mandatory for any offering to have uh, some kind of Sharia advisor or scholar involved reviewing the processes, just because the non-compliance risk is huge. The Sharia non-compliance risk is really high. If and the only way to mitigate that risk, one of the strongest mitigants for non-compliance risk is to have scholars involved, who would expert scholars in this space who can review, advise, structure, develop, and audit. And so, from a layperson perspective, I guess your first port of call would be to see, is a Sharia advisor involved, right? Do they have a scholar? And if they have a scholar, really you are absolved. You are not required then to investigate further. You can trust, from an Islamic perspective, it's you can trust the scholar's view. He's a knowledgeable scholar, he's a reputable scholar. You can take his opinion. He's known for his piety, or he has nothing which is alarming about him. Then you can take his view and his opinion, and you can bank. Inshallah, you've done your what's your duty as a lay person. It's the scholar's responsibility. It's his duty. He'll be accountable, even from an Islamic perspective. He's accountable to ensure everything is Sharia compliant. If anything is not Sharia compliant, he'll be liable primarily in front of Allah. That's the key. That's how important and delicate this matter is. So that's why the Sharia advisor, the Sharia scholar, it's his duty to ensure everything is Sharia compliant. As a layperson, if you see a Sharia advisor, you can be rest assured, inshallah, most of these advisors and scholars are well versed. They know what they're doing, and they do, fully, take this job seriously. From my kind of experience, they take this very seriously in ensuring everything Sharia compliant, because it's a big duty. If you're talking about people's livelihood, people's money being halal and haram. And we know the hadith whereby the Prophet ﷺ told us about this person who, he told us, I think of a person who's in a desert. He is disheveled, his hair's all over the place. He's traveling, and then he raises his hands and he starts saying, Ya Rab, that, oh Allah, answer my dua. The Prophet said, that how can his dua be accepted when غُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ, he's been fed with haram, he's been drinking haram, he's clothed with haram. فَأَنَّا يُسَجَابُ لَهُ. The Prophet said, how can such a person's dua be accepted? Because his clothing is haram, his food is haram, his income is haram. So, this area of halal and haram income is a very serious matter, because it means your dua, your prayers will be impacted, right? And from the hadith, we learn that duas are not accepted in this stage. And so imagine now for an advisor or scholar to being in that position, having to judge whether something is halal or not halal. It's a very delicate and serious matter, because if he makes a mistake, or if he's careless, that means, let alone the dua of everybody else, inshallah, that's a different matter. But his own prayers, his own dua, his own accountability to Allah, it's a grave matter. So I guess the first and foremost thing is to see if a scholar is there. If a neobank does not have a scholar, they don't have a scholar, then that would mean you should do some kind of research yourself. Look at the banking, look at their products, their services, look at what they're offering. You'll have to dig deep a bit to understand everything, understand the mechanics in the back end, and then you can proceed with using the services of a neobank.
Islamic finance learning made simple and memorable.